Hello, everyone. This is recording number 10 for my Intro to Philosophy and AI. I want to ask today whether there are compelling reasons not to ascribe thinking, belief, and so on to AI. Now, in some circumstances, it is tempting to say things like the LLM believes. And that is not what my question is about. My question is not about policing the language. My question is about, whether it is genuinely compelling to make these ascriptions. And I put this in terms of ascription because that is a technical term here. Ascriptionism takes it that if it is the best explanation of the behavior of an AI to ascribe, for example, thought or belief or desire or intention, then we should go ahead and do so. And in doing so, ascriptionism does not deny that there is also what has been called an internal mechanism. It just sort of sets that aside and says our focus is on whether the behavior is best explained by ascribing belief and thought and so on. And that's our focus. Now, in my experience, a lot of people find it natural or intuitive to at least sometimes say things like the LLM believes such and such. It is, however, also my experience that on reflection, people often hesitate. And my question is why? What might be compelling reasons to hesitate? And we already looked at one such reason, which is that it could simply be mistaken, as it were fundamentally mistaken, to conflate what is on the one hand the human mind and on the other hand the machine. You could consider that a kind of metaphysical argument, maybe. And the thought would be that it is perhaps even a kind of anthropomorphism to talk about a machine in terms that we otherwise use for activities of human beings, activities such as thinking or belief formation or forming an intention. Now, when we, in an earlier recording, discussed that line of argument, we also saw that there is a counter argument. The observation that both LLMs and human cognition seem to involve next token prediction. And there might be further similarities. So it is perhaps just too quick to insist on principled and deep differences. It is perhaps just a question that we should pursue further. And I will leave open how these arguments could be developed. But I want to end by raising a different type of hesitation with regard to ascriptionism. And that is, as we're not immediately about whether we say that the LLM has beliefs and so on. It is more about setting aside questions or not focusing on questions about the so called internal mechanism. It is entirely possible, I think, that by setting this aside, and that means setting aside questions both about the human mind and about the internal mechanism in an AI, we set aside questions that are perhaps extraordinarily important, perhaps even important for where we want to go next with AI.